I want to just lead off, Greg, with the Washington Commanders and the whole thought of, well, rebuilding and what rebuilding is in the NFL. And I'm starting to think about this, and maybe I want to do a deeper dive. But the obvious jumping off point with the Washington Commanders is that just like you, they were 4-13 last year. They drafted a quarterback high. They swapped out their coaching staff, started from ground zero with a lot of money to spend. They're in the NFC title game, and you suck. Is that unfair to compare the two?
No. I think you could definitely do that. I just think what the Commanders were able to pull off is just extremely rare. Like, I don't think you can look at this year, even though the results were vastly different, and say, well, what Washington did was the right thing, what the Patriots did was the wrong thing. I mean, when you look at it, there's only the Commanders are the fifth team.
Greg, what the Patriots did was the wrong thing. I can say that. Go ahead. What the Patriots did was the wrong thing.
No, I disagree with that. The execution was wrong, but what they chose is not necessarily right. What you have to realize is what the Commanders have done, going from a top 2 pick to a conference championship game. It's only been done. I don't know if this is an NFL history or recent NFL. This is only the 5th time it's happened, and it's only so the other times were going backwards. 2019, the 49ers. That was fake. That was Shanahan's 3rd year. It was when they had all those. Jimmy got hurt. They had C.J. Beathard. They had that other crappy quarterback that they had.
Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins.
Like 2006 was the Saints. Peyton and Breeze, their first year. Okay, you could draw some parallels. The other one was 1996 Jaguars. That was their second year of expansion.
Right.
It was only their second year of existence. And then the 1988 Bengals. It was not the first year for Sam Weish and Boomer Esiason. So what the Commanders have done this year with a new GM, new head coach, new quarterback, it's never been done before. Now, obviously the Patriots didn't execute things right, and that goes for Elliott Wolf and Gerard Mayo. But I don't necessarily think you can say. I think the Commanders, you can make a better argument that they got pretty lucky. They decided to bring in a bunch of veteran guys to help them. For instance, Bobby Wagner. That he lasted a whole 17 games at age 34. A little bit fortunate. The offensive line stuff, those guys aren't that great, but they lasted the year. Yeah, go ahead.
What about the coaching staff?
Well, that is definitely something where I think Dan Quinn, his ability to coach up that defense, the Commanders' defense last year was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous. And then you look at where the Patriots were, where their defense was good, 2 years ago. And for Dan Quinn to get that defense up there to do what they've done, and then the Patriots basically to go in the other direction, that's where, not a lot of it, but at least that was part of the issue for the Patriots this year.
Of course, Washington got some luck. Most good teams get some luck. And what I'm trying to say, Greg, is not necessarily from top pick to conference championship game. Right, that's rare. I'm talking about, generally speaking, the whole thought of the rebuild in the NFL. Mm-hmm. You're going from a high draft pick to being decent or being in the mix within a couple of years, I think happens more often than not. In other words, let me reverse it. Give me the example of the long, slow, patient build that we're supposed to allow the Patriots to be having. Like what current good team had a long, slow, patient rebuild where fans were asked to, and I'm not saying this like I know the answer, like no one, you're wrong. Bah. I'm asking, like I said to you, I've just started to kick this around in my head, so I'll go back and do some research myself, but maybe you all can help me. Because it feels to me like the elite teams built from the middle, got their quarterback in, were good. Or like Cincinnati. Okay, bottomed out, drafted Burrow. They beat the hell out of him in year one. He got hurt, so they got another high pick. Then they got Chase, and then all of a sudden they're in the Super Bowl. There wasn't some sort of long, slow rebuild.
I think the Bengals, you can make that argument. That
Really?
There was a long. I mean, this is not a team that goes out and signs anybody in free agency. They didn't do what.
No. But what sort of long patient, like the fans and me? It was a lot of the guys.
I would say San Francisco.
A lot of the guys that were defending Gerard Mayo.
So I was going to say San Fran.
Yeah,
too.
you got to go. You got to look at teams that maybe didn't sign many people in free agency. That's where you would start, and I would think that San Francisco is one of those teams.
Where their fans had to endure year after year of patient, planned, tactical rebuilding.
It was about a 4 or 5 year thing.
Yeah, from 14 to 18. I mean, the best record they had was in 2014, 8-8. Then it was bad for 4 straight years.
Yeah, once Harbaugh left, it took them 4 years to get to double-digit wins.
Okay, they went from Harbaugh to
Tom Sula.
For how many years?
One.
And then
Chip Kelly.
And then
Shanahan.
Okay. That doesn't really feel like a plan to me. It just feels like they sucked and hired the wrong people. And was that some sort of long, patient master rebuild?
No, I wouldn't call it a No. I'm trying to find answers.
I would. I mean, it's Shanahan. They didn't didn't have a winning season until Shanahan's third year.
Okay, 3. And they did it kind of without a quarterback?
Right. They had to go and get Jimmy.
Okay, so 3. Mm-hmm. And
no, you're right though. But that I mean, that's not 1 or 2.
I mean, I'm just, and I guess I'm dialing it back a little bit to the people who wanted me to,
it shouldn't take 5 years.
Be patient with Gerard Mayo. You don't know what it takes and how long it takes, and
it should start turning around in 2 to 3 years.
I mean, it feels to me like if you have a quarterback, which is obviously the most important thing, and then you surround that with good decisions, you're pretty much there.
Mike, I would even say if you surround it with decisions that don't suck.
And it doesn't take, San Fran did it without a quarterback. Give me the team that had the quarterback like you, so now I'm going to refine this. Like I said, I'm workshopping it. Work with me. A team that had a quarterback and did this long, slow, patient rebuild. San Fran, fine. They had no quarterback.
No, Manning was his second year.
I mean, there are these teams that sort of were in the middle to begin with and got their guy. Kansas City, right? Obviously. Buffalo, people don't really appreciate it. They were a playoff team the year they drafted Josh Allen. Then I think his rookie year they missed, and then they were back in the playoffs his second year. He wasn't Josh Allen yet, but they, it wasn't like this long, slow, patient up rebuild. They were sort of in the middle. The thing that I'm being asked to do as a Patriots fan, you don't understand what it takes, how long it takes. Does it? I don't know. The Commanders. I don't want to hear that the Commanders had all sorts of advantages over you. They had one. As I started to look at it this morning, it feels to me like the Commanders have one thing you don't, and fine, and that's McLaurin and a number 1 receiver. Other than that, what was that roster, Greg?
No, not much.
Their defense.
And they started a rookie at left tackle the whole season. Brandon Coleman, third rounder.
Their defense was 32nd in the league last year in scoring.
Here, I just looked at their roster from their divisional playoff win. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 starters that they got off the street in free agency. 9 if you include Austin Eckler. Mm-hmm. Eckler doesn't start, but he's in the mix. Bobby Wagner, Zach Ertz, Dante Fowler at defensive end, Frank Louvu, the linebacker, Taylor Badass, the center, Jeremy Chin, the safety, very good. Dorrance Armstrong is a starter at defensive end. Nick Algoretti, the guard.
He stunk in Kansas City.
Okay, so 8 free agents start. I count at least 5 rookies that contributed. Jaden Daniels, Mike Sanseri, he's a defensive back.
Still.
Yeah. Didn't he have 2 picks
player.
in that game?
2 picks.
I think he's from Malden.
Yeah, local kid. Everett, I think.
That's the Everett kid?
Yeah.
Second round starter. A couple of reserves, Jerzon Newton on the defensive line, Ben Sanat at tight end. He ain't got no targets. Maybe he's just a special team guy. And then here's one that I didn't realize, and it stood out to me. Greg just mentioned it. Their starting left tackle is Brandon Coleman, rookie. Starting left tackle. He was drafted 67th overall. Do you know who went 68?
Caden Wallace.
Caden Wallace.
Whoops.
Third round, Luke McCaffrey. Played, no targets, really not a factor, but he played. And then they have Javante Jean-Baptiste, again, another reserve on the defensive line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rookies played. 5 started. 4 started, sorry. At least 8 veteran free agents started in that game. And I stopped counting, so I may be off by 1 or 2 here or there.
GM.
It doesn't take that much. Where's this long, slow rebuild?
Well, wait a minute, though. Like, that's a pretty good draft. Like, how many teams are going to hit on 5 guys in a draft?
I don't know.
Okay, but
maybe they're not all that good, but they're just good enough because the quarterback's so good and the coaching's right. And so it all sort of makes sense. You put these guys on the Patriots, I don't know, maybe they would suck. All I'm saying is it doesn't take, once you have the quarterback, as I've been told, and I agree with, then it shouldn't take hardly any time.
That part I agree with.
You just have to support him with enough coaching, enough players. Otherwise, give me this example. Because again, the guys that were defending Mayo had to tell me, we're not ready for a rebuild. We don't know what it is. Okay, like if you don't have the quarterback, I get it. That could be forever. If you have a quarterback, how long does it take? Give me an example of another team.
It shouldn't be more than 2 or 3 years.
No, it shouldn't take that long if you do what the Commanders did as far as free agency. And this is where I think Elliott Wolf has a blind spot compared to Adam Peters, who came from San Francisco, were contenders, sort of like looking for guys to help. Elliott Wolf comes from a background with the Packers and the Browns where it's just the draft. They don't even look at free agency. Like Peters came in, Luvu. Zach Ertz, in talking about luck, Zach Ertz, this is his games played before this year. 6, 11, 10, 7, and then this year, 17 games.
I know. 66 catches. The guy was, buried.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree. There was some luck.
Right. But I do think I think the lesson learned this year for the Patriots, and I think this is where Vrabel comes in, and I think this is where Dan Quinn came in. A lot of the guys that they brought in, Dan Quinn or other people like Cliff Kingsbury with Ertz, they had a background with these guys. The Patriots had such a neophyte coaching staff that, Gerard Mayo hadn't been anywhere. Where's his Bobby Wagner? He doesn't have anybody like that.
This Dante Fowler, he was with Dan Quinn in Dallas.
Yep.
10.5 sacks. It's just because Quinn knew him, had experience, my guy, I know how to use him. It's not rocket science. It's not that hard. They didn't have to pay through the nose for the guy. I'm just telling you, this 5-year, 3-year rebuild, go after yourself.
I agree with you on that. I totally.
Especially if you have the quarterback. If you don't have the, let me just say, if you don't have the quarterback, then yes, you're just sort of casting about, and that I understand. If you've got the guy, I'm sorry, by the second year you should be there. If you have half a clue as an organization.
So another example, the Houston Texans, when they drafted Deshaun Watson, they were 4-12 that year. Next year, 11-5.
Because they got the quarterback and they filled him out with enough. And C.J. Stroud, I don't know, you get C.J. Stroud and you're good.
Yeah.
Unless you suck so bad as a coach or an organization, then you're still at the bottom. What the Patriots did, so this is, it's just another way of saying it's just not acceptable. And I don't want to hear about this rebuilding crap as long as you have the quarterback.
Or you got to give him time.
This is where.
Stop it.
This is where, and I agree with you. And this is why Patriots fans should be optimistic with Vrabel here, with Cowden here, with their experience around the league. They're going to have these guys, plus whoever they bring in on the coaching staff. From the Rams tree, all these guys are going to have a reference to be like, that guy's a good player, that guy's underrated. Now we can bring these guys in. Where I think there was a complete blind spot between Elliott Wolf and the coaches as far as guys to identify like that have been huge for the Commanders this year.
To me, that goes back to the staff. Again, they hired a staff with no experience. They had no network, none.
The one that blew me away, I didn't realize this. The Commanders' starting left tackle is Brandon Coleman. I looked it up just because I'm trying to, again, workshop this. Oh, I see. He was a guard drafted in the 3rd round. Guard drafted in the 3rd round. Where was he drafted? 67. Huh. Who did he get? Who was right around him? I just wanted. Oh, there's Caden Wallace, a guard too. So someone took a guard who could play tackle at just about the exact same spot. You took a guard who thought could play tackle. Not quite, but it's possible if you know what the hell you're doing. And so that's that.
If you like that clip, check out more videos from Felger and Mazz here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.